we are targeting ambitiously 1% of market share. That would be fantastic. Well, we would be in a fantastic position if we're getting to 800, and we've got 142 orders today from that sector. So a really big scale ahead of us.
After a successful RTO, Janus Electric is now focused on its goal of reimagining road transport with technology that harnesses existing electrical infrastructure to deliver a 100% carbon zero solution. To unpack exactly what this means is Managing Director Ian Campbell. Ian, it's nice to meet you.
You too, Jonathan. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Now, before we get into the details of the RTO, can you give us a bit of an overview of the company, aims, ambitions, and how the exchangeable battery system actually works?
Yeah, sure, Jonathan. There's a bit to unpack there. So the history of the company are around 5 years. Two founders came up with the technology, one being an engineer, one in transport, and they put their heads together and created this. And the foundation was realistically they, with the brains around thinking transport, that they wanted to see to make sure that heavy haulage transport service was able to keep the trucks on the road for longer. And most people are going down the fixed route where they have a battery system within the truck, which takes 3 hours to fully charge, where they thought if you can have a swappable battery, essentially you'll be able to keep on the road and keep making sure they're earning an operating income more often per annum. So that's kind of the foundation of the business. In terms of what that is and our purpose, it's really to leverage that electric unique conversion and battery swapping technology, which is patented software platform to drive the operational efficiency through the sector and provide that zero emission supply heavy transport option. So really important. It is a really big industry. So what are we doing to attack that industry and disrupt it? Is that obviously it's mostly diesel in the industry. So we take those diesel trucks that are existing trucks. So we're not looking at brand new trucks. And we convert them from their existing diesel engines and their tanks, and we take the tanks off, we put in the batteries, we put in an electric engine, which is very well-known technology. Electric engines have been around for a very long time, and we convert that into electric. And therefore, we're putting in operating savings by about 20 cents a kilometre through it. And also you think about maintenance, so you think about a lot less, oil changes, filters, complete engine overhauls. We don't need any of that because we're going electric. So the savings over time grow. But initially, it's really the conversion cost, and then that's the capital cost. And then over time, we save money per kilometre that these trucks do, and they do a lot of kilometres per annum.
And really, there's a societal benefit here as well, because, I mean, without the transport industry, as we've seen a few times over the last few years, the economy comes to a standstill. So this really does, I guess, impact on that in a positive way.
John, that is a really good point. It's very unknown throughout Australia that, in fact, people sort of claim that between 15 days of diesel is onshore at any one time to 30 days being offshore coming in. So if we do have a disruption to our supply chain in Australia around diesel and transport, yes, there will be a real problem for Australia. We do not have any. We can't just suddenly make diesel in our country. It's not something that we can just flick a switch. Whereas electric, we've got plenty of solar, plenty of power, and we can keep the system running. And the transport industry is the second largest behind mining is a contribution to GDP. A lot of little known facts that you picked up on there, Jonathan, people aren't aware of.
So let's turn our attention to the RTO. Talk us through how it came about and when you get the funds, where those funds will go.
Yeah, so the RTO, and there's very few reverse takeovers, of course, within Australia. I think there's been one other one so far this year that I'm aware of, and actually very few IPOs. So we're really, really happy to have achieved our goal of raising between 8 to 10 million. We've raised 8.8. Essentially, that RTO came about because the company had its pathway, came to a junction where they had to do a battery replacement because of an incident they had. They put in new batteries, new technology, new monitors, which are fantastic, great use of the modern technology as the chemistry for batteries continues to evolve and get safer and get better. And so when it came to that, they knew they needed to get the growth. They received a lot of good support from the freight industry in Australia, some fantastic clients, whether it's Cement Australia and Cube, really backing it. And so those orders meant that they had a big pipeline ahead and they needed some growth capital. And so that kind of molded into the RTO and then obviously the IPO, which which is coming up. Around those funds of 8.8 million, it's really going to be spent mainly on inventory. And that includes batteries and the infrastructure with which we need to put into the convert the trucks. Once they're in our infrastructure, then it comes into our system and we get a recurring revenue fee from that. So that you convert the trucks, which is a different fee for $175,000 a truck, and then we get recurring revenues on the other side for the energy, for our subscription, for using our ecosystem and that fantastic software platform we've got, which is really brilliant. It keeps track of all the assets, the energy, the batteries, the temperature of the batteries, the driver speed, the braking, the regen braking that goes back in the battery. Fantastic ecosystem. So a lot of the money will be spent. We've got a new facility, so it's really about the growth of the company and trying to accelerate that. So savings across our business on how we can make things more efficiently manufactured in Australia.
So, and with all of this in mind, who are you targeting? What is the primary target market here?
Yeah, Jonathan, it's a very clear market. So it's a very great question, because one of the things that excited me about Janus was the scale. It's very rare in Australia that you're able to come across a business that has some scale ahead of it without having to suddenly rush offshore to achieve economics or scale. The market here is the prime movers. So it's 124,000 registered prime movers in Australia. And according to us, as we go through, both some age and actually the type of conversion we're targeting, our kits, it applies to around 80,000 trucks in the market. So that's a pretty good segment. We are targeting ambitiously 1% of market share. That would be fantastic. We would be in a fantastic position if we're getting to 800, and we've got 142 orders today from that sector. So a really big scale ahead of us.
And I just want to touch on that facility. It is Australia's first EV truck factory, so it really does set you up for future endeavours, really.
It does. It's based on the central coast of New South Wales, and that facility can really help us out. At the moment, we're targeting just a steady growth of trying to put 2 trucks out on the road operating every month. And obviously, what we'll do over time, we'll build that up. A lot of this comes around scale, because as you scale up, you get better discounts, you're able to get more efficiencies within your operations. And then we're building out a dealership network. There's a dealership in South Australia that has our conversion kit at the moment. They're going to put a truck out. Then we've got one in West Australia signed up. Got a dealership signed up in the US, in fact, as well. And we've got a dealership that's coming in Victoria. So over time, as you stack those up, those trucks going out per month will build up.
Mm. So in terms of news, what can we look forward to from the company?
I think it's one of those factors I just mentioned around that build up. Once we get the conversion kits and into a very efficient process, we're able to send those to the dealerships, which obviously if they're in locations where the fleets are required and those need renewing. Remember, we don't own the trucks, we're converting the trucks and obviously putting our technology into those trucks. So if they're in location in South Australia where there's a lot of mining routes going in, because we are going, a lot of our clients are point to point. So from a mine to the port, or from doing a route around the city for Cement Australia, for example, we are actually targeting those first, because then your infrastructure, your charging system gets utilised more. So we are not trying to build infrastructure and hope they come. We're building them where our clients require to go back and forth for their routes.
And then just finally, I want to touch on the investor case here, and part of that is the strong team that Janus has. But when investors are looking at the company, what are they looking at?
Yeah, I think that's great. Firstly, of course, we do have a fantastic founder. This is a founder-led business, and the founders are really strong. So that's really important. They've been in the industry, they know the industry. So this has been a system set for the industry to get those operational efficiencies. The other component for us is they're doing it. Our clients and customers are looking for us because of the compelling economics that we provide for them. So that's number one. It is compelling. It's not just because we're providing a zero emissions transport solution. It is because the economics of electrics is getting stronger versus diesel longer term in particular. The recurring revenue streams, the more operating trucks we get on the road, the higher our recurring revenue will become, and then we'll become a much more stable business. And that isn't that far away from occurring. So we've got 18 client trucks built and converted, and 23 all up, and there'll be a few more of those announcements to come pretty shortly. and as well as new contracts that we haven't been able to announce during the IPO period because we get locked down. So those are some of the exciting components, and also just around, for us, just getting more of those routes that say a client does 200 to 300 and comes back to our charging station. The more utilization, the more kilometers, and obviously also the more carbon we start to save. So there will be more announcements to come around those, and also strategic developments that we're working pretty strongly on at the moment. And those strategic could be partnerships. They could be working with other big companies that require 50, 60 trucks. And that's what we're really looking to try and to bed down over time. The industry side of it, not just the veterans we have inside it from Lex, the founder, but also with Dennis and Christy, having started and worked really hard at Bubs at a startup. And we've got Tony Fay. He's fantastic across finance and his relationships and bringing more support to the business. So a really good team. We've got Greg Watson as well as a CFO, an established CFO. So we've got a good deck on ground, and that really should help us build the business and make more improvements over time.
Ian, plenty to look forward to. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Jonathan.